Alright, welcome back everybody, I'm Follygon, and we are sculpting D.VA here, continuing to work on this character. Right now it's just, basic male, androgynous, female, slash whatever character. But that's because we don't have the hair, earphones, or all those things. So we're just working on getting the face into a point where the proportions and everything else are kind of resembling what we see in the character D.VA. So a bit of a rounder face, pointier chin. And I was talking in the last part here, in the last episode, how we would merge this lower lid into our face, and we will do that. But when we do that, we are going to lose our subdivision levels. So before we do that, there are a few other things that I want to look at, namely this nose. Our nose doesn't look bad per se, but it is not the correct type of nose for our character of D.VA. D.VA has a real small, kind of cute bunny nose. So we will start to try to get closer to that. I think D.VA actually has like a little bunny on her suit. So at least something I've noticed about Overwatch is like each character is kind of represented by an animal. And I think that might be the one that D.VA is. You got like, some of them are a little bit more obvious, like Junkrat and, what's his name? Hogboy. That's not right. But yeah, so I haven't played Overwatch in a minute, but like Pharah is kind of like an eagle, I guess. So each one I feel like they took inspiration from an animal for each character, or at least a little bit. Maybe not for every character, but like you got Bastion, right? He's a robot and he doesn't really resemble, well, much of any animal. Well, he does have a bird though. He does have a bird, so maybe that's how they corrected that one. Alright, so trying to get closer to a cute little bunny nose. These subdivisions really help, as I've said before. And her nose might be the perspective of the image that I'm looking at for reference. It looks like her nose is a bit more downturned, or not downturned, but flat than what I have. Mine is kind of pointing up, and that is kind of, pointing up is kind of a characteristic of like a fawn or a bunny's nose, so that's not necessarily a bad thing, and this is, our interpretation of this character. So we have creative freedom to do literally whatever we want here, but I want to try to at least make it look like D.VA, a tiny bit, and I think the hair and stuff will really sell that. So for now, just really trying to shrink most of this nose here and push in around there. So we'll keep playing with this. This looks terrible. I could even just, what? That doesn't look bad. It doesn't look as bad, we'll say. And we'll continue to mess with this. And I have a pretty sharp transition on the nose here. I like to do this a lot where I just pinch around here, and that helps me know where the transition of the nose is going to happen, but I will typically not keep that sharp, whoa Nelly, I will not keep that sharp transition in there for the finished nose. So I like to do that to kind of get an idea of the shape and what's going on. I think we're getting closer here, and then I'll use like a trim brush on it, like I'm doing here, to kind of clean that up. So pinch brush also along the edges of the nostril can be pretty helpful, and just general kind of move brush stuff where I can move some stuff around and figure out more shapes. So I'm just using my smooth plus alternate smooth, which is, you hold shift to smooth and then you let go of it while you're still smoothing, and we'll do the alternate smooth. The alternate smooth, I've mentioned it before, not in this particular character series, but the alternate smooth is if you have a really tight, real quick, really sharp point like this. If you use smooth, it's going to, and this might be a bad example, smooth is going to kind of smooth everything back down, but alternate smooth, and yeah, this isn't going to work. It's pretty bad example. Alternate smooth is kind of more of an averaging between vertices. So if you don't, it's kind of confusing, but play around with it and you'll figure out the differences and when you can use them. It's a little bit less, or I guess the word would be non-destructive. It's not quite as destructive as your traditional smooth brush. Plus, when you're using your smooth brush, you can always, turn your Z intensity down, and that's actually something I recommend doing. So, lips, I would like to adjust before we go merging anything down and effing up our geometry. So, I'm just gonna kind of adjust a couple things here, it's hard for me to, just focus on any one thing. It helps to be a little bit OCD when you're doing this stuff, or not OCD, but ADD. Got my acronyms mixed up. So it helps to be a little ADD, where you can kind of jump around and work on a bunch of different stuff. Ooh, I need to fix this. Ooh, this. These lips look absolutely freaking just good. We'll work on them. Lips are tough. Especially for me, I struggle with lips, and I think a lot of people do. It's just really hard to get a good shape here. And really in the end, it's the more simple the shape, I've found that the better lips look. The more I noodle and work with lips, the worse they start to look. And the more simple they are in the end, like the better the shape. So I'm just creating a poly group there, so I can easily kind of select between these two. I'm keeping perspective off so that I can kind of look at these and get an idea of what they look like from the front. I'm going to use my lowest subdivision level and adjust some shapes so that I can kind of purse these together. And I will also use backface masking to kind of get that overlaid effect where they're kind of intersecting each other. Intersecting. That was the word that I was trying to remember earlier, but I could not. Okay, so those are already looking better just by kind of pursing them together. But the overall kind of shape here is really bothering me. So I would like to adjust these a bit. Just maybe using a pinch brush can be good for this stuff. And that's maybe a bit too... Well, D.Va does have kind of a characteristic bow shape on her lip. Some people it's a bit flatter, but it looks like on D.Va maybe it goes in a bit more. And then for the lower lip, D.Va's got some luscious lips, so maybe we can really exaggerate how far down this shape comes. And like I said, as the more I mess with this, the worse it starts to look, and then I just get annoyed, and then I go work on something else. So we can try to correct some of this real quick here. Too sharp of a transition, especially on the lower lips. The lower lips are just it's almost as if there is no transition between the lip and flesh on the lower lip. It's just it just happens. If you know what I mean, look at some lips. If you don't, you guys know. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I'm actually more happy with this than what I had before. And if we want, even adding some poly paint can kind of help distinguish different shapes and transitions. So sometimes doing that will get you what you're looking for, and we can do a lot of this stuff in poly paint. And we will eventually poly paint this, but we will hold off on that for now. I am going to turn perspective back on, and I'm going to, I think what I want to do is increase the roundness of my chin, at least from the side view. Give it a bit coming out here. Got some bone. Maybe a little bit much right under the lips, and try to soften that. And if you're following along and your mesh isn't looking quite as clean, hey, don't worry about it. You know, it takes a lot of time and it's kind of hard to figure out how to control your mesh. And if you're pretty new to ZBrush, I can understand that this stuff is tough. So don't feel bad. Just kind of keep working on it, keep practicing, and know that these subdivisions that I'm working with, they do help. So having that lowest subdivision level that I can smooth, and then have that kind of go up through all my other subdivisions, that stuff really helps. Alright, so I promised we would merge these lower lids into the face here in this video. So let's go ahead and do that. What I'm going to do first though is kind of adjust this in such a way that when I do merge it, it doesn't look quite as bad. So I'm just gonna use my inflate brush there with Alt and try to get a little bit of a curve. Really, it's not turning out quite as well, and it would probably take a little bit longer to get what I want. But that's okay. I think that's gonna be what I like to call close enough. So let's go ahead and merge this down, get a quick little pinch-a-rooney just to kind of sharpen this shape. And actually from the back I would like to rotate around. Turning perspective off, it's a little bit easier to kind of control how your camera works, to rotate around your model, at least in my experience. I'm just going to kind of trim that in around there just a bit because I don't really like how fat it's looking. Awesome. And that will be good enough, I think. Let me rotate some stuff here. Just want to change the angles at which some of this is occurring. Our upper lid is looking pretty fat. Another thing to keep in mind is working from thick to thin. And before I merge this down, I think I'm going to want my eyes to be a bit larger. Go for more of that, you know, anime-like eye style. I like to have big eyes on my characters. Like I said, the eyes carry like so much weight and emotion that it can really make or break your character. And having tiny beady eyes is not going to do that. And let's see here, I think it's going to be too deep or too long of a lid, but I do need to get them into the correct shape and position. So we'll call that good enough here. Let's go ahead and merge these down. I'm just going to grab that lower eyelid subtool, grab the top one here, and I'm just going to merge it all down into one piece. And we will set sail for one piece here. So I'm just going to Dynamesh 777, let that think for a minute. And then after that's done, we can kind of smooth this transition out and keep working on them. So we will do that in the next part, and I will see you guys then.